everyone, I'm Ian McCarthy of Lifting for Life and No Bullshit Bodybuilding, and welcome back to the Lifting for Life Q&A series in which I answer your questions on video. And today's question comes from Harry Target, who says, would be interested to hear your thoughts on maximum recoverable volume and optimal training volume for maximizing muscle hypertrophy. Now, for those of you who are perhaps unaware, maximum recoverable volume is a term which was coined by Dr. Mike Israetel, almost forgot Mike Israetel's name, in reference to the maximum amount of volume from which you're able to recover. And the training philosophy which often comes along with this is, and this is an extreme simplification, if you desire to maximize your results, you should do as much volume as you're able to recover from. And I think that's a very reasonable position if we add the caveat of we also need to be aware of what you're actually able to adapt to, because if you're able to do more volume and you can recover from that volume, but it doesn't actually increase the outcome you care about, in this case hypertrophy, then I think it would be a waste of time to do that. I wouldn't advise someone do it. And if someone were to say, well, you should still do it anyway out of principle if you're still able to recover from it, I would disagree with that unless there's simply some line of reasoning I'm unaware of. I'm certainly open-minded to that. Now, in practice, I do find it's really per session volume recommendations diverging from Mike's, not to just bring this down, not to say that the whole discussion is to do with what I recommend and what Mike Israetel recommends as opposed to all of the other concepts which are out there. But while I would acknowledge that additional volume, whether on a per session basis, you would say on a per session basis, additional volume will increase the acute hypertrophic response, or if we want to talk about on a weekly basis, higher weekly training volume, we know from actual applied studies, yields greater hypertrophy. I would acknowledge that, but I'm also very aware and concerned with and find important efficiency and the diminishing marginal returns of additional training volume, which is to say the situation is not as simple as if you do one hard set, you get this much hypertrophy. You do 2 hard sets, you get twice as much. You do 3 hard sets, you get 3 times as much hypertrophy. Instead, the first set is of the greatest significance, and the second is likely to have a significant effect, but less so. And then that's going to continue diminishing. So we have to ask the question in any given context of at what point might you be able to do more and benefit from it, but it still not make sense for you to do that given one more set for one. We can even talk about like on a body part basis. One more set for this exercise of this body part is a set you're not doing for another body part. It might be something like that. Or it might be an additional set of any exercise means time and energy taken away from other things. And we all, even the person who has a lot of time and energy to train, like we all are dealing with limited time and energy. And again, going back to the issue of needing to distribute volume between body parts. So I don't 100% agree with, but I totally get where Jeremy Lenicky is coming from when he says, and this is from a Facebook comment, so don't quote me on this one, but if I recall correctly, his position is that 2 to 3 hard sets for one body part in one session pretty much does it. Like, you're good. And I would probably bump that up to 3 to 4. That's typically what I do and what I have folks do is 3 to 4 quality hard sets per body part per workout. And then the way I manipulate training volume is not so much with per session volume, although sometimes it'll be lower than that and sometimes higher. Like I'm certainly not absolutely committed to 3 to 4 sets. But as an example, if someone really wants to bring up a body part, they're able to train every day, they're able to recover from this, I could totally see, and I've done that, this isn't a hypothetical, I could totally see hitting a body part every day with 4 hard sets, yielding 28 hard working sets a week. On the other end of the spectrum, you might have someone who has a body part that just responds really well, and they actually don't want it to get better. So you might, I think the lowest I've gone anytime recently is about 6 sets a week. Or you might just have someone who has like what they've gotten used to is doing a bro split. You're moving them to higher frequency. So maybe just doing 3 quality sets twice a week will actually be significant improvement over what they were doing. So you notice that I struggle somewhat to give you a super concrete answer because it's so dependent on the context. Like if you have someone way over here who has been training seriously for 10 years, they can train every day for 2 hours. Like they're totally able to, they can tolerate almost anything you throw at them. And they're already advanced and they're wanting to go from like advanced to like fucking as big as they can possibly be without using drugs. Yeah, then maybe that's someone who you have them doing 4 sets per body part for multiple body parts. Not sure I've ever actually had someone do that, but I could totally see it happening. And then you will have other people who, whether because they don't need it, like it just doesn't make sense from that efficiency perspective of giving them additional hypertrophy, or having them do additional volume, or they can't tolerate it, they will end up on the other end of the spectrum. Now, in wanting to give something like an actionable general recommendation, I think I most often find people, like when I do programs, for one thing, I typically don't sit down saying the objective is to hit this number of sets. There's so much of an art component of programming, ensuring that all the pieces fit, etc. But what I think I most often find happening for folks from kind of the low intermediate through to advanced often is 8 to 16 working sets per body part per week, distributed over most often 2 to 4 workouts per body part. So that would yield the recommendation of generally train each body part 2 to 4 times a week, 8 to 16 sets. So that would end up being 2 to 8 working sets per body part per session. But more often it'll be 3 to 4 hard working sets and then a frequency of 2 to 7 days a week. So I apologize for the fact that this isn't as definitive as a lot of people would probably like. But again, it's very much, it has to be reflective of the context in which you're operating, your training experience, how often you can train, for how long you can train, which body parts you even care about. Maybe they're body parts that you don't want to grow, etc. And then just how you as an individual respond, what you're able to do, whether or not you have just freakish work capacity and recovery capacity, no apparent explanation, that's just always been the case. Or if you're someone who really easily gets wiped out, so some of these protocols I've described, you simply wouldn't be able to sustain, and thus they wouldn't work for you. So thank you so much for the question, Harry. Hope that was helpful for you. The rest of you who watched as well. If you like the video, please do like it, comment below, and I'm definitely going to push to get out many more Q&A videos moving forward. Thank you so much, guys. I'll see you soon.